Welcome to Lloyd's Water Audio. I'm your host, Lloyd. Today I have a special guest. He's been around. He's been in plenty of bands. He's played with the likes of We All Want To, Go Go Fish, Slumlawwd. He's also currently playing for Adele in The Chandeliers. He's just pretty much a work dude who just gets around playing guitar for people. So I got a great pleasure introducing Scott Mercer.
Thanks, Lloyd.
Scott? What's happening, mate?
Great to be here.
Today been good?
Yeah, pretty good, pretty good.
It's kicking back. Yeah. Sweet. All right, well, let's start with every question I'm going to tell everyone is, how do you start guitar, or how do you get into music?
I had a false start getting into guitar. Yeah, because I first started learning when I was about 9. My uncle started teaching me. So I had a nylon string Magnum acoustic guitar that I still have. It's still one of my favorites.
Still got it?
Still got it, yes. It's about like a 3/4 scale or whatever. It's great for writing songs on. I just love it. He started just... So he would, but the thing is, he would only teach me melodies, just single notes.
Yeah.
And he would write them out. He'd print them, actually. They're printed in this weird notation that looked like fractions. So it would be like 6/3, which would be like the like a G, which is like a 6, the third fret on the 6th string. It wasn't in tablature or musical notation at all.
So it just be like 3/6.
Yeah.
That's the power, like the chord. That's weird.
But it wasn't even chords. It was just single notes. And I think he did try and teach me chords, but it was just too hard, and I hated doing it. Just stretching my fingers all the way across a fretboard at that time for my little fingers, it was just too much. So, and he would just teach me really simple songs like... Silent Night. I think some of the stuff from Jesus Christ Superstar, the musical, because I really liked that. And I remember, I think at school once I took my guitar in, I did a little show and played like Waltzing Matilda, just the single notes, just the melody for the whole class.
Yeah.
And I think it went well. I can't remember. But
did you get cheers at least, or any girls?
I'm sure the teacher was, let's all give him a round of applause. But that didn't actually last very long, and I gave up after like 6 months or something when I was 9.
Yeah.
And didn't pick up the guitar again until I was 17.
Oh, really? So you just gave up for like that whole period? Like didn't play between 9 and 17?
Not at all, no. I kept the guitar. It was just in the corner of my room always. Kids, they have phases.
Yeah,
before there was dinosaurs and spiders, and next it was, I don't remember what the next thing I was obsessed with was, but it wasn't guitar. And then, so throughout my teens, I actually listened to very uncool music, Lloyd.
Yeah, what do you listen to?
I love musicals.
Yeah, that's right. And I guess that, in your teens is a bit uncool, but...
Like everyone else, was getting into Nirvana and the Pixies and stuff, and like on school holidays, because I would go on these holiday musical camps, like run by churches and stuff, and so we do Joseph in the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, Pirates of Penzance, there's some Gilbert and Sullivan stuff. We did stuff like Oklahoma. Actually, we didn't do South Pacific, I think. I can't remember if we actually did them, if I'm just making that up. No, hang on, which ones did they actually do? Cut. So we did stuff like some Gilbert and Sullivan, like the Mikado, the Pirates of Penzance. We did Rodgers and Hammerstein. We did Annie, stuff like that. And I just loved all that musicals.
When did you pick up an electric guitar and get into it?
So I got back into it at 17, and it was like towards the end of school, and so I was starting to get an actual taste of music that was, I'd say, was my own and not just passed down or random musicals, and John Williams soundtracks as well. I was really into like the Star Wars.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Park music.
Yeah.
I'd like sit at home and like when everyone was out of the house, I'd like conduct it, put it on the CD player and conduct it.
Yeah, cool. So like, did you get given an electric guitar by your parents? Or you go and buy one, or?
I got it first. I got a steel string acoustic guitar, a Fender. That I eventually gave to a friend. He still got it.
Yep.
It was a nice one actually. And then eventually, I think for maybe my 18th or 19th birthday, I got my first electric from mum or dad, can't remember which, and that was an Ibanez Fat Strat copy.
Oh, really?
I think it was an RC170R or something. It's this big black thing with like big
Pointy
bat
spikes and
wings,
shit. Yeah, yeah.
super heavy.
Yeah.
I mean, physically heavy.
Yeah.
And a little 10-watt Marshall amp, which is not the best start really. It had an okay clean tone, but like, I mean, it wasn't much of an amp.
Did you like have a band at the time then? Were you like
No.
just started playing music, or were you just doing stuff yourself?
No, so I played by myself for a long time.
Yeah.
I used to go over to my friend Angus's house and we'd just jam on acoustic guitars.
Yeah.
Because he started when he was a teenager, and like he liked pop punk and like Green Day and Incubus and stuff like that. And I'd bring in slowly more adventurous indie rock stuff. I started listening to Triple J kind of after high school as well.
Yeah. So you started getting like a bit more of a taste of what you might kind of like want to do.
Yeah,
musically.
totally. But yeah, I started to write stuff myself. Most of it's unlistenable now. I think so. Early on, like Nirvana was a big thing, of course.
Yeah.
I got that book, Kurt Cobain's journals that I found.
Yeah.
That was amazing. It's just all his journals, unedited. Unredacted, and just like it goes from like his shopping list to a list of his favorite albums of 1989 to lyrics and diary entries and scribbles and all sorts of cool stuff. And like being that age, I think a lot of people relate to Kurt.
Oh yeah,
at that
definitely.
age. I think Nirvana's absolutely one of them.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean. Like Nirvana was good because it was like for our generation, like being younger and stuff, and not being around at that time. Like like it was. We eventually got into it when we got older, and it's made us write music. And then, like at the time when it came out, the people before them were like, "Well, fuck, we have to change what we've got to do and suit to what they're doing because they're destroying the music scene and making it like a new thing."
Yeah, and it's funny. I think now Nirvana is one of those bands that it wasn't just Generation X. It wasn't just the millennials. I think he belongs to all the generations now.
Yeah.
It's just whenever you hit 13 or 14, or as late bloomer like me, 18 or 19.
Yeah.
Whenever you hit that stage of needing something that's angry and thrashy and sarcastic and hilarious, every new generation kind of gravitates towards him. In the same way that people are still finding 13-year-olds still find the Beatles.
Oh yeah.
And like if you or I were growing up at that point today, we'd probably gravitate towards Billie Eilish or whoever.
Yeah,
It's that same sense of rebellion.
It's whatever. Like all right, so like pretty much so about 18, you started getting Nirvana. When did you decide that this is what you wanted to do? When were you like, I'm gonna make a band, I'm gonna start playing shows, I'm gonna start making music, release albums, and do what I want to do?
Yeah, I always feel like I had kind of a late entry just because like when I really started playing at 17, I feel like almost everyone else started a lot earlier and started listening to cool music a lot earlier. So I really didn't get into being in a band till, I feel like I was always a late bloomer. So for years, I just like, I'd record an album every year and put out and make CDRs of it, like 8 copies for my family and friends for Christmas. I just record in Audacity at home with like a terrible microphone.
You still use Audacity, don't you?
No, please.
I thought you did.
Come on, Reaper, son. Audacity has its place, but like I had, having no idea what equalization was. And wondering why everything sounded so boomy because
you just don't know. Well, at that age, no one teaches you that, man. Like that's the thing with music. Like you like you listen to Nirvana and stuff like that, you think you just plug in and you're just gonna sound like that. You know what I mean? Like you don't understand recording and stuff like that until later.
No,
you're like, oh, okay, well, there's actually a technique to it. And
there wasn't even any drums on it because I didn't have any drums, couldn't play drums. Sometimes I had percussion, like a tambourine or like hitting like I'd pull out a shelf and hit it with a stick or whatever for some beats. But it was just mostly acoustic guitar with some electric overdubs and some weird keyboard stuff that I put through the effects pedal.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I did that for quite a long time. And eventually I joined my first band, I was in my mid-20s, I guess. So, and like I used to read Rave magazine, which was a street press that came out here in Brisbane every week. And in the classifieds in the back, they'd have, band listings, bands wanted. And I answered an ad for a band called the Bear Mousetrap Treatment. And they were looking for a guitarist and a singer. And I auditioned to play guitar and got in. And that was really exciting at the time. And I don't know why they picked me, because I was not a good guitarist at the time, had terrible gear, was still playing through a 10-watt Marshall and the Ibanez.
Were they at the same stage as you, or were they a little bit more?
No, and I've always played, this was the start of a trend where I've always played in bands with people a fair bit older than me.
Okay.
So it was these three dudes who'd been around, they played for maybe, I don't know, 5 to 10 years together in various bands, and they were a good 10 to 12 years older than me.
Oh, really? So they're like in the 30s and you were like 20?
They're about, yeah, and they would have been in their early 30s.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And so I joined, and also a singer named Kylie joined, and she was even younger than me. She was 19.
Yeah.
But it was great, because it was a great sort of proving ground, and I mostly played lead stuff. Can't remember. It started with...
Yeah, like this nice pretty stuff.
Yeah, so they were like big into Candle Records, the Lucksmiths, the Smiths, Block Party and UMI to an extent. And sometimes, because there's a 5-piece, so we would have room to jam out a bit, and it got quite fun there, doing some, trading lead lines.
That's pretty crazy, man. So so you joined them at 20, you haven't been in a band before, you were just doing home recordings and mucking around guitars, and you went into a band that's like, it sounds like they kind of had a lot more experience than yourself.
Totally,
so you would have to step up a fair bit.
Yeah, they had like Telecasters and Fender
crazy.
Deluxes.
And you just rocked up with like, did you have your RG at the time?
Yeah. And so the only thing they said like when they brought me on was like, we looked at a few people and we think we'd like you to join the band, but do you reckon you could get a bigger amp?
Yeah. Man, it sounds like, I said when I was a kid and I started music, I was like 13, just started playing guitar. 15, I was in a band, moved to Australia, started another band for a little bit, and then went nowhere, and then like pretty much, my band, The Bear Hunt, that was like the most proper band I've been in. That was when I was like 21, 22. Yeah. So we ran about the same age, but you went from like I said, I just started with friends with that band. So I just had no expectations. Like we all had bad gear. That's crazy. You just went into a band and was like, yeah, I can do lead. That's fine. Yeah, I can do this.
Yeah, like the total unfettered arrogance of the early 20s
places, bro.
White male. Yeah, like it's disgusting. But I think it is good to start playing in someone else's band first. Yeah. Actually, because I think you learn a lot more. You learn to be a bit of a team member and to just there's pressure off you, because as I quickly found out when I did start my own band, there's so much more you have to do. Yeah, it's so much more stressful.
What was the band you started then? So is that Go Go Fish?
It became Go Go Fish. Yeah. So I was just jamming with a friend of mine from school called William. He was a piano player and he played keys. And I put my own ad in Rave magazine for a drummer.
Yep.
And there was, I think I put as influences were like Something for Kate, Sarah Blasco, and some others, and we had, I think it was just the one applicant who actually responded and came, and that was Ash Shanahan.
Okay.
And she joined us, and
she just started playing, or
she played drums in high school, but I think she was just getting back into it after a bit of a break.
Okay. Yeah, cool.
And at first, before it was called Go Go Fish, it was called, because this was when bands still had And the Something. And it was called Scott Mercer. It was called Scott Mercer and the Cobweb Gallery.
Damn, so you went straight up like solo, you're my band on this.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And like we figured out soon enough there was just an awful name. And we renamed ourselves Go Go Fish, which was taken from I was really into Buffy the Vampire Slayer at the time.
Yep.
Before it turned out Joss Whedon was a bit of a dirtbag. And like we had a lot of songs that were named after and with imagery from Buffy. Like we had songs like Prophecy Girl, Graduation Day, Parts 1 and 2.
Is that where that comes from?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So there was an episode of Buffy where the swim team all turned into fish monsters called Go Fish.
Is that where it comes from? Yeah, because I was trying I've been watching it again, and I'm like up to season 3, and I've been waiting to hear wait to see
Oh yeah, yeah. In season 2, that's where Go Fish is.
Yeah, okay. I totally must have skipped that. I must fell asleep or something.
Oh yeah, it wasn't a great episode. But of course, you have to have a name that's Googleable.
Yeah.
And Go Fish is a very common phrase, so it's a bit hard to get that algorithm working for you.
Yeah,
And also, there's like a Christian a cappella band in America called Go Fish.
Yeah, when I was doing some study, I came across that, and there's actually a fish now called Go-Go Fish.
There is, yeah.
Fucking deep
Yeah,
sea
yeah.
water fish.
Yeah, so I just added another Go, and I think Go-Go Fish is a pretty good band.
Yeah,
name,
dude.
actually.
Oh man, it's catchy, and it definitely when the viewers go listen to Go-Go Fish, it definitely suits the sound of your band. You know?
Yeah, it's fun. It's a bit
it's fun
yeah.
and in like a kind of like almost like a poppy kind of like rock indie vibe, man. It's good.
Yeah, totally. So eventually, William kind of dropped out of that band. He went on to become a lawyer, and so because he'd been a bit of a weird, like he was taking care of the bass with his left hand on the keyboard, but we wanted it to be a bit more of a, again, everything ass backwards. You should start with basic amp, basic guitar, a couple pedals that don't do too many things, and just start as a 3-piece bass guitar drums.
Yeah,
that's how everyone should start, not keyboards and multi-effects and all this nonsense.
Yes.
So eventually we put out an ad for a bass player, and we had 2 applicants. So one was a friend of Ash's named Angela, and we actually had her on before. We were going to do like this special show where we covered all the songs from the Buffy musical, and she was going to play like some extra keys and violin and stuff because she plays everything.
That would have been cool.
But the gig got cancelled actually. It was this tribute to Rana
she
thing.
actually like practiced.
We learned a whole set
man.
of all the songs from Buffy, but yeah, that never happened.
That's crazy.
And the other applicant was a guy we didn't know named Murray Bowler.
Yeah.
And so we had them both on, and I remember like really struggling with the decision of which of them to pick. And then like I talked about with Ash, and eventually we were like, why not both? So we brought on Murray to play bass and Ange to play keys.
Yeah.
And sing backing vocals, and that was the lineup for the rest of the band. Although eventually I shuffled it around, and Ange moved to bass and Murray moved to lead guitar towards the end of it, and it got to like a real, muscular sounding rock band. And that band was together for a few years.
So how did you decide the genre of Go-Go Fish? Like, was it a combination of all of you guys liking certain things in a melting pot, or was it like?
Well, I wrote all the songs in Go-Go Fish, so it was always pretty much just trying to flesh that out. And I think I've always been influenced just by whatever I was listening to at the moment. So it did change over time. Like, it started off very indie poppy and got slightly heavier towards the end.
You got more distorted.
Yeah, like a bit more Sonic Youthy, a bit Scream Theory, whereas it started quite almost twee, I'd say. And it always just reflected what I was kind of listening to and ripping off at the time, really.
I think everyone rips off.
And I still do that pretty much in anytime in all the bands.
Yeah.
So I'd say genre. Yeah. Yeah, so like, sometimes, and I'd be influenced by stuff, both contemporary stuff, like sometimes I'd try and write ballpark music songs, and sometimes I would try and write Beatles songs, and I think it's okay to do that, but like the interesting part of a song is in your failure to reach that, and how much of your own personality is weaved into your failure.
I agree with that, because I feel like, when you're trying to do a certain thing, you never ever quite get there, but somehow you make your own version of that. Yeah. And your own sound of it, and then it ends up becoming you anyway, because you're like, oh, well, I try to sound like Billy Corgan, but now I sound like it's like off, weird version of it, but it works,
Like, I think the least successful Oasis songs are the ones that sound most like the Beatles, where it's like super obvious, whereas the rest of the time, like their attempt to generally rip off the Beatles is like, it works because they've got, that Manchester laddishness to them that kind of takes over.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that, man. And that's like were they one of your influences when you did Go-Go Fish?
Yeah, not with Go-Go Fish, I don't think, but I definitely liked Oasis early on. I think they were the first big gig I went to, actually, at the Entertainment Centre. Yeah.
I've never seen them, man. That sucks.
Really?
Yeah, I saw Liam recently when he came to Brisbane.
Right, yeah.
That was like the closest thing. I saw Noel at the U2 as well. But Noel was like, I'm a huge Noel Gallagher fan, but he changed everything to like kind of suit what he was doing at the time. Whereas Liam just pretty much came on and just played straight up like just Oasis like from '95. Like just cranked amps, him screaming and yelling and singing, and it was like, yeah, it's amazing.
Liam stuck his tongue out at me. At
Oh,
that
did
gig.
he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, because this was in about 2005 or 6, and I remember it was at the entertainment centre, but it was one of those things where half of the arena was like curtained off because they hadn't sold very well.
Yeah, they didn't do very well in Australia.
No,
apparently.
I mean, the album they're touring, Don't Believe the Truth, I think is still one of their best. That's still a really good
I
album.
like that one, yeah.
But commercially, they were on a real downturn at the time, and I remember they weren't really into it. And, and in one song, like Noel was taking this huge solo out the front, and Liam was just like, smoking a durry and like looking around. And I remember I was quite close to the front because, small arena, not hard to get close.
Yeah.
And everyone else was like looking up at Noel. And I was just looking at Liam, just watching this whole time. And eventually, like, because I think my head in the crowd was the only one turned towards him, I eventually caught his eye. And he just, like, looked at me and was just like... That was a really great moment.
You're like, okay.
Yeah. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, fuck yeah. So, obviously, Go Go Fish went for a while, and I forgot to mention in the intro, Go Go Fish became a backing band for Harley Young, right?
Yeah. So there was this guy I met, a singer-songwriter named Harley Young, and I met him just before he moved to Canada to live for a few years with his partner and now wife, Philippa. And they made music together. They've always made music together. And while he was away, like I started listening to his early solo EPs and stuff and was just really digging his stuff. And then really randomly, a few months before he moved back, he messaged me. Yeah. Now, this is a guy I'd only met like 2 or 3 times. Okay. I didn't know him very well at all. And he was like, hey man, I'm moving back soon. Do you know any bands that would maybe want to do a tour with me? I've got a new song I've recorded in Canada. I'm going to put out, do a bit of a tour. And I was like, I've got a band. And then it developed from that. So we'd just go tour with him. And then he was like, it's just me and my partner, Philippa. Do you reckon you could play a couple songs with us?
Oh, okay.
And so before he came back, for about 3 months, we learned like 2 or 3 songs, including the single he was putting out, She's on the Wires. And so when he came back, we were like ready to play. And like he stepped off the plane into the jam room and we played his song for him. And he was like, wow. And so we did that tour, just doing a few songs with him every night and just, had a great time personally.
And Go Go Fish is still a band and still playing?
Yeah, so we played on that whole tour.
Oh, okay, so you were like the support act as well as like his back. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. And then I think sometime after that, he just asked us if we would like to become his backing band full-time and record an album with him.
Yeah, and that's when you Go Go Fish technically became the Haymakers for him?
We were still, yeah.
He's
so yes.
Still Go Go Fish, but changed.
Yeah, so he called us the Haymakers as his backing band, and we recorded the first album, Flinders Parade, with him.
And how many years did you do that for? It was for a while, eh? 2 albums? Was it 1 album or 2 albums?
Yeah, but he went back over. He went back overseas pretty quickly though. So we did a couple tours again with Harley and Go Go Fish, and then so Harley and Philippa were moving to Europe, and so we launched that album, and then so we were going to split because they were moving back indefinitely. So we split as the Haymakers. At that time, I chose to end Go Go Fish as well, and we put out our debut EP launch was our final gig. The Beals Bar, which often is the case in Brisbane. I've found like the EP launch or the album launch is the breakup gig.
Well, that's what I was looking with. The next question was like, obviously you went from Go Go Fish, Harley Young, and then you went to We All Want To, and you started playing bass with We All Want To. And like, was that band different where you just like stepped in and you had to kind of just follow? Like you obviously didn't write the music. Like, I guess my question is like, going from the other bands, you're more in charge and more like, this is what needs to be done. You had more of an opinion. But then like with that band, and even maybe, I don't know what Adele thing's like at the moment, but what's it like working with other people, I guess? Like, how do you work with other musicians, like, in that way?
I'm fascinated. This is another thing that's great about playing in lots of different bands, is working out all the different band dynamics, because every band is different with how they relate to each other, like, creatively and socially, and, like, in the larger bands, like, factions that can sometimes form, or in little ones, just how close you can become, like, siblings. Ash Shanahan, who I've played in oh God, at least 5 different projects. She's like
Yeah,
a
yeah.
sister to me. Harley is like a brother to me.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I think that's why it was good to start off in someone else's band in the Better Mousetrap treatment.
Yeah, I guess I taught you how to adapt, eh?
Yeah, definitely. But so in terms of bass, We All Want To was not the first band I played bass in, actually.
Okay, I'm sorry, I thought it was. Sorry, my bad.
No, yeah. So towards the end of the Better Mousetrap treatment, so they would there was a 2-songwriter band, Matt and Marty, and they would swap guitar and bass between songs. And there's this one song that Marty, who was an excellent piano player, he had to play keys for because just he was the only one who could get it right. And so I ended up playing bass on this one song.
Okay.
I never learned to play bass. I still don't know how to learn bass. I think I do actually need lessons. Like I can't play with my fingers at all. But
Yeah, you get. I know. I say you've tried out for my band. And you're pretty good.
yeah, and you figure it's not hard.
No.
But so I learned to play the one song on bass. That was pretty fun, and so I first auditioned to play We All Want To back in quite a while ago, and I didn't get in. And that went to someone else at the time. But Tim Stewart knew a friend of his, Chris Hetherington, who had a band called The Slow Push. They were also looking for a bass player and a drummer at the time, and he recommended me to Chris.
Okay.
So I had auditioned for this band, The Slow Push, which was this post-punk kind of band, sounded a bit like Joy Division.
Yeah.
And I got into that band and played with them for about a year. And that's when I first got this bass, which is as far as I know, because it has no brand, no serial number on it, but I'm pretty sure it's a Tesco Spectrum. And no one knows how to pronounce Tesco, by the way. Like some people say Tisco, some people say
I thought it was
Tiesco. I say Tesco, like the supermarket brand, right, in the UK?
Yeah, that's what I thought. Tesco, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Or Tisco.
Yeah. So I had this crappy Yamaha bass that I'd bought off one of the guys in Better Mousetrap treatment who'd upgraded to a Fender P bass. It was pretty terrible, and I knew I needed it was just the connection was terrible. So I needed a new bass. And actually, so I traded that bass to Ash for this Yamaha guitar. So this was Ash's guitar, going back, this Yamaha Pacifica, going back to when she was a teenager. And I always used to play it in go-go fish practice just because I liked it. It wasn't as heavy as my bloody Ibanez. And eventually I just traded it because they were literally of equal value. They were the entry-level Yamaha Strat copy and P-bass copy. But so, traded that, bought this bass. So I was in the guitar shop and it was between this and a P-bass.
Okay.
And the P-bass was great and sounded fantastic and played great, but everyone has a P-bass.
Yeah, you want to sound different. Eh?
Yeah, and this band I was joining in particular had like a really particular post-punky kind of sound. And this Tesco has like, it's not the bassiest bass, but has a really strong upper mid-range sort of punch to it. And also the fretboard's quite narrow for a bass. It plays almost more like a guitar.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit shorter, I think.
Shorter scale,
Yeah, so...
did the band want you to have a bit more of a, like that sound? Like, did they push you towards when you started bass, or you just decided?
Not particularly. They just said get a bass, and,
cool.
and I got this one. And I've loved it ever since. And I often get compliments from other bass players whenever
it's cool, man.
in other bands whenever I'm out. Like we played a We All Want To gig in Sydney one time with Wayne Connolly's band, Knievel, and like we were sound checking, and he like as soon as my bass was just lying on the floor in the case open, and he just instantly gravitated towards it and picked it up and was like, "That's a nice bass, man." And everyone says that, and it's quite rare. I have seen recently, I saw Laura Imbruglia play last year. Her bass player, Kelly Dingledye, plays the same bass, I'm pretty sure, with the same colouring even.
Yeah, I've only ever seen the guitars, like, you're the first person I've seen with the bass like that. It's like, I've only ever seen, like, I think like True and Collider got like a guitar version of that with all the switches and stuff.
Most Tesco's have a bizarre variety of switches. This one is mercifully basic. And so I'm pretty sure it's all original from the 60s, with the exception of this tuning head, which is because at a particularly exuberant We All Want To encore at the Beca one time, I was smashing Dan's cymbal in time, and it just snapped off. So, which is something I'd always done with this guitar and go-go fish, but these tuning pegs were a bit older.
So you went for, what was the band you were joining when you got that, sorry?
The Slow Push.
Yeah, so the Slow Push, how long did that last and when did you go to?
It seems like ages, but I think it was only about a year before that band kind of drifted apart, because one of the singers was going off to do further study in nursing, and we just sort of drifted a bit and never quite got back together. But it was certainly fun, and that was a band where I joined and all the parts were there for me.
Yeah, you just rocked out on them.
It was really interesting because Chris, the singer, he didn't play any instruments, but he programmed all the guitar and bass parts and drum parts into demos, and we just learned that. So all the songs were like 3 notes. It was like do 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 do. It was like the all in minor key, like the root, the 7th, and the minor 3rd. And it was all variations.
Sure, like Joy Division sound like
but like really fun to play and really interlocking and mechanical and fun.
like machinery kind of.
So I think that was a great place to start. But so then, so the first time the Haymakers split up and Go-Go Fish split up, about a month before, I saw We All Want To were looking for a bass player again. And I was like, well, I tried out once before. They were like, no, what am I going to do? But then I was also like, well, I'm going to be without a band soon. And I wasn't really sure. And actually, it was my girlfriend at the time who really kind of was like, no, you should go for it.
Yeah, pushed hard.
Yeah, so, I met up with Tim Stewart again and got in that time. And I've been there since 2015.
So then now you're with Adele band?
Yeah.
In
Adele
The
and
Chandeliers?
Yeah.
How's that going?
It clicked immediately with Adele.
Yeah. So what's the writing process of that? Like you're writing together, or is she writing this music and you're kind of backing it up? Or?
So Adele brings in most of the songs.
Guitar-wise as well?
No, like she'll bring in like, because she plays bass. And she's most comfortable
with bass.
On bass. And she's another one who loves this bass. She played it all over the album.
Awesome.
And is always, I think she's got her eye on it, but she can't have it. She's got bloody 4 basses of her own, but always wants to play this one. She'll bring in like a structure of a song with the lyrics and chords, and Ash and I'll just kind of fumble our way through it for the first few times. We'll throw some ideas back and forward.
Yeah, that's cool. So that's where you're at now. Oh, and obviously Slumlawwd, we didn't mention that. Slumlawwd is Scott's, like, I guess is it joke rock band, you'd say?
I mean, there's a strong humorous part to it, I guess. It's a bit of a punk band, so that's what this guitar is for. This is a Golden Ton, and it's terrible. It's a terrible machine, but I like it because it was... so one of the reasons that I think guitarists like to keep lots of guitars around is to have them in different tunings. And
so you got that one in different tuning?
This is in a tuning that I learned off Tim Stewart. One of them is E-A-D-A-A-E.
Yeah, I know that one. It's a good one.
I should probably plug in.
Well, we'll talk about gear now anyway, so plug in, man.
Yeah.
And this is what Slumlawwd's pretty much like this punk rocky kind of...
Yeah, so I just had kept this guitar in this tuning that Tim used for a lot of really cool Scream Fear songs. Would just leave it in this tune because it's such a pain to retune guitars.
Oh yeah, sure.
And so it's very ringing out, Like the tuning lends itself to lovely open kind of chords, but I was using it for its dissonance. And the nastiness, like that starts with 3 E's. So there I'm moving from all 3 E's to one being E flat to an F and E flat and an E. So it's super dissonant. But I just loved messing around and.
So I guess go from there. So that's what you use solely that tuning just for that band? Yeah,
Slumlawwd is entirely on this guitar, entirely in this tuning. The other thing about this instrument is that at some point, I don't remember why, I think I've always just loved taking things apart and not being good at putting them back together. And at some point I took the guard off the middle pickup And I found without that shielding,
It's opened it up, eh?
it's just so much hotter, that middle pickup. I got rid of it. So it does actually have a selector.
Yeah, where is that located? Underneath the sticker?
That's underneath the pick guard. So what I eventually did, because I used to have a lot of trouble hitting the selector, because I would always keep it on the middle switch. I actually used to have a little blue bit of plastic on there to stop me from hitting the switch. I eventually took off. But so this, I sat on the middle one and buried it in the body, as well as I got rid of the tone knob as well. Because what does tone even do? I don't even know. Also very light. Feel light that is.
So golden tone, that is super light for a Strat.
Yeah.
So it's just like a cheapy kind of starter guitar, really.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, no, it's terrible. And like the intonation's pretty bad as well. But
things are the best stand there. Like I said, like this thing, like you were talking about the bass.
Tesco.
Yeah, this is like a Saki, which is the same deal as like Tesco. It's Japanese, 1960s, just easy ass pickup. SG mix of a Jag, pretty much.
I can't really play heavy guitars as well.
Just like feel that. It's the same deal, man.
Oh, that's nice.
Weighs nothing. It's like super fit.
Yeah. Even like a telly's too much for me. Like I played when we were doing demos for the last Harley album, I was playing Ash's telly for a lot of it, and I have a terrible shoulder pains after each day.
Yeah.
Part of it is I have muscular dystrophy.
Yeah.
A kind called FSHD. So I have very weakened shoulder and arm muscles.
Yeah.
And that's actually had a really big impact on how I play guitar. In the last few years. So, for example, like my straps are way longer. I play my guitar like way down, like below my waist now.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you can see on the close-up. So my kind of muscular dystrophy, so it affects your body asymmetrically. So if you look, like there's still a bit of muscle tone in the left bicep there, but if you look in the right, there's just nothing. So it's quite difficult. I can't even lift it up.
Yeah.
So strumming has become much more difficult. So I need to just kind of leave my whole arm down there and just get in the wrist. So even like sitting down, it's a bit difficult to strum. But and that's why light guitars are really important as well. Yeah. Because it tends to hurt quite a bit.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like at least you're kind of, I guess it sucks you got to adapt to your injuries, but at least you're finding a way of like, not playing heavy guitars, playing lighter guitars.
Yeah, for now.
Changing your style.
And it didn't even used to affect the bass as much, but even that I've had to kind of drop the strap a bit, which makes it harder to play like some of the higher strings. Like it's possible, and like you kind of don't know how far it's going to go. So I can see a day maybe when I'm not able to play guitar at all. Yeah. So, and honestly, that's another part of why I am in so many bands.
And why you try to do so much stuff,
Yeah, just kind of get as much music in while I can.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Like, it's not awesome what you got, but it's awesome that you have that mentality. Like, at least you're not giving up or being like, I just want to do this. Like, at least you're going out there and trying the best you can.
Yeah.
While you got the time, like, yeah, man, making me feel like a lazy motherfucker. No, so like, so with Slumlawwd you use that one and pretty much, obviously you got your pedals with today.
Yeah, so with Slumlawwd, all I use is the tuner, the Big Muff and the Hotcake.
Okay.
So...
What's the Big Muff one there? Is it electroharmonic? Oh, is it actual Big Muff?
EHX bass Big Muff Nano.
Okay.
So I did originally buy this for use with the bass, obviously, but it sounds great with guitar as well. So the funny thing is though, so I use the Hotcake. I was originally, was using it for a more or less clean boost in other bands, just a bit of grit to it. But the Big Muff, it sounds loud there because we're right next to it.
Yeah.
But if you actually like. Not that much of a boost.
No, it's just a little bit of a boost, yeah.
So what I actually do...
More area, it's sorted.
Yeah, and depending on what amp I'm using, sometimes it can, even on max volume, it's below the amp's clean volume,
okay.
Which is not what you want when you go to hit a fuzz pedal.
That's why the Big Muffs are like, people rather mod them or they've tried to do that with the switchable stuff. Yeah, big muffs are kind of real known for that.
Yeah, so this is one of the ways, I'm very tech unsavvy. So, but I've found a workaround. So in Slumlawwd, what I do is I leave the hot cake on all the time.
Yep,
So
stack it.
pretty relatively clean, and then so I'll set the level to be lower than the big muff. And then hit them both at the same time.
Yeah, okay. So you got that. Yeah, you've worked out how to do that dramatic.
Yeah. So the hot cakes allows it to be, But I mean,
and you got the hot cake like kind of gain all the way down almost too. It's pretty. Is it pretty low or is it pretty?
Levels. No, they're all up.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Actually, the drive on the hot cake's broken at the moment. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I need to get that fixed. So
That's
at the
awesome.
moment, it's only the level works. So which is good because I only need a clean boost.
Yeah, you kind of just using it as a clean boost. That's sweet, man. That's like working with broken stuff to make it work for you.
I
That's
mean,
awesome.
so often I'll miss one of them when I go and stamp both and be like,
Just like that.
Yeah, exactly.
So with that, you just use those two pedals solely for Slumlawwd and that kind of sound, that guitar.
I use them for other stuff as well. But when I'm in Slumlawwd, like I don't use the rest.
Yeah,
of
you don't
these.
use the rest, just use those two. That's awesome, man. Like that's pretty like clean based sound, which the band is kind of like that as well.
Yeah.
Like it's like reminds me of old school punk stuff. Like just one sound, clean, sorted. Clean, sorted.
I think in that sense, I've kind of gone back to Kurt Cobain a bit, like going back to like the Bleach sound.
Yeah, dude.
When you could hear, like when there wasn't a million overdubs and everything, and you can hear when he changed. I almost kind of like when the bottom of the bass frequencies of the guitar drop out when he hits the fuzz. That's what I want to hear. That I want it to be no frills.
That's awesome, man. So we'll go from that one. So that's just your Slumlawwd guitar and muck around at home. What's your main guitar there? Is that the Yamaha Pacifica?
So the main one is the Yamaha that I traded from Ash back in the Go-Go Fish days. So
and you've used this in Go-Go Fish, currently with Adele as well.
Yep, Harley, my solo stuff, Lena Light Rail sometimes.
See, I think we had this conversation. My first ever guitar was a Yamaha Pacifica, exactly like that in red.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I had it for years, man.
It's not great. Like it's an entry-level guitar, and I've always thought maybe I should upgrade to. I mean, I've always had my own Fender Mustang. I think that'd be pretty cool. But excuse me.
That's all right.
Save that one for you. But yeah, it does the job. Like it's pretty versatile in that it is a super strat with the humbuckers.
Yeah.
So recently, for example, Adele and The Chandeliers did the music for my friend's podcast, Six Cold Feet, and we were this fictional band called Juliet Knives, which was supposed to be like this, like an iconoclastic 90s alt rocker, like a kind of Magic Dirt, PJ Harvey type.
That's pretty cool.
And so for all of that, it was all in humbucker mode and everything in drop D.
Yeah, I love drop D.
Yeah, but no, everything else is middle position.
What makes you go to the middle pickup? Because you have on the other guitar, is that just something you found you like the sound of?
Yeah,
just for the balance?
I think I don't like a lot of bass in my guitar tone. Like even always at gigs, I'm always turning the bass down on the amps and just having it at the neck position. I don't know, it's just not for me. It's just a bit too full. It's like, that's what the bass is for.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's pretty good. Obviously, I'm more just constantly on bridges, because I like that real thin, and I got the Vox and stuff. I want that big fuzzy thinness, and then that the other instruments fill the gaps.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. It should be like a band. You should have the other guitar fills the mids, the bass fills the low end, like you said. And, makes that big noise. You know?
I used to sometimes play in bridge position in Go-Go Fish. Sometimes when, I think, a couple of times on recording, but when we were on tour, just so I could hear myself.
Yeah. Because that's the trouble with middle pickups. It is a lot.
Buzzier.
Yeah, and
because they don't buck the hum.
Nah, and exactly, and there's a lot thinner as well. Sound-wise.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So go for your rig, man. All right. Pretty much, like you said, you start off with a hot cake.
Yeah, and I still use that in Adele as well. If I just dial the sustain way back, and the volume, of course, and really pinch that tone. So a few lead breaks that just to give it a bit of a different thing. Like clean boosts.
Yep. Which is good because it makes it, like your Big Muff is very much like mid-range kind of bassy kind of boost, and then that makes the treble, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, so that's just for kind of like I mean, because I am the only guitar in the band, it's only a 3-piece. I don't really need to boost it that often. Yeah. It's just if I'm playing something really single notey that needs to kind of
be stepped out.
Yeah. So I brought in the DS1 today, not because I don't really use that live, but I just thought it was interesting that I've used it on recording a fair bit. It's just funny how often it comes in handy.
Oh yeah, I got one to know.
Yeah. It's so basic, but so often it's been like you're searching for ages among all these. Like I was recording a solo thing with Cam Smith a little while ago, and I just wanted this like big tone for this big kind of slowcore outro thing. And like we went through all these fuzz pedals, like went through Cam Smith's horrible sounding Monstrosity, which is a monster of a fuzz pedal, my Big Muff like a rat. And in the end, we just found the DS1 was the tone we needed. Like, sometimes it's just what you need.
Yeah. No, the DS1s are like, as I said, it comes back to like you said, man, sounds like Kurt Cobain's an influence, but that's, it's that same, it's that whole Nirvana big, like not fuzz, but just distortion, big hit.
Yeah, I think it does cut off so much of the low end that's kind of why I don't use it live, and I don't really play. I don't really play in any bands heavy enough to use it live at the moment. But it's definitely been useful for recording.
Yeah, I try to use it when my band started writing new stuff. I put it on my board. We actually did a Nirvana tribute night.
That's right.
Yeah, and I put that on my board along with the chorus because I like worked out what rig he had and tried to make that rig. So I loved it so much. But the thing is, like you said, once you start playing in the band, you got 2 guitars going, and like, it's just the volumes on them. Hey, like they just need modded where they just were a little bit louder, that'd be sweet.
Yeah.
But it's like you have to dial in to get that push. But
that's true. Yeah.
So you go from that to.
So then I got the chorus, which has too many knobs already. It's only got 4, but that's still I use this for a couple songs in Adele's.
And that's the TC electronic.
The Corona. So I'm honestly, I think everyone's got that pedal in their board if you play any kind of lead guitar where you're always trying to shoehorn it into songs. It's like, hey Deli, maybe, what about if I put chorus on this? I don't know. And like, I know in my heart, it doesn't need chorus. But I use it on a couple of things anyway.
You're right, I think chorus is like one of those pedals where like you got to make it work for you.
Yeah.
Like, I know some guitarists actually use it mainly just for their fucking sound. Like, they just have it on all the time.
There's some
this thing, or like in
bands,
choruses, which is
like bands like Body Type and Seaside just have it on their rhythm guitars. It sounds awesome. But I think you do, and you got to really make sure of that your lead guitar's not swamping, because you don't want it to become a swamp. And playing rhythm with a chorus pedal, you can easily become a swamp. So you got to be careful.
You got to like kind of blend it in a little bit.
Yeah.
So, that's awesome.
They got a reverb pedal. Again, I only ever use one setting on it. It's got too many things. Kids, just buy a basic cheap pedal. And like, I think you should learn, on really simple pedals. And then when you know what you want, build off that. Don't buy something with 18 bloody settings in the first place.
No. It's definitely, I reckon it's rule number 1. Like, no one tells kids enough for people starting out. It's like an overdrive, a distortion, like a verse, chorus, or a delay. That's all you should have. Basic shit, analog, 3 knobs on each. That's why Boss is so good, because it does, like I started out, all this was Boss at one point. You know what I mean? Then like eventually like I went, I like this, like that, and you kind of move on. Like, instead of you, like TC Electronics, like I don't see many people with them, man, but they're good. And like,
they're good.
And seem like a real good pedal.
They're kind of good in that they also have like they have like more basic versions and more advanced ones that are bigger and smaller.
They're the ones you can plug into a computer and get presets for?
They got this tone print thing. You can plug a bloody USB into the back of that and like with the app on your phone. And so
Robert Smith's fucking Curious, like from the forest or some shit.
So you can download, settings people upload, but also, so there's 4 pots on that and like a switch in the middle. But if you go into it, you can with the app, you can change like a full 32 different settings
that's
on
nuts.
that. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like I'll only ever make a sound worse by doing that.
So what made you go for the TC Electronics?
So just because, I started with just their tuner, the polytune, which
Yep.
is nice. And even with that, I never used a polytune
Nah.
setting, no,
Yeah.
just single notes. But just like the build and the reliability, they're well-made pedals. You know, I love researching and reading reviews online, watching
Yeah.
YouTube videos of comparisons, shootouts,
Yeah.
shootout videos.
Yeah, I love that shit.
And so I wanted a reverb pedal just because sometimes you're at gigs and you can't always rely on the reverb of an amp.
No.
Like sometimes, so I don't always use this at gigs. It's just if, you know, someone brings a Marshall with no reverb, or, you know, an old Deluxe where the reverb unit's broken. That's just in case.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of why I went with that one. And then I've just got the Boss DD7 digital delay.
What's the reverb sound like? Sorry, can we hear that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Pretty basic, and yeah, I can go to fancier, bigger shit. I mean,
Yeah,
I
that's
just
cool.
I just have no use for that at the moment.
Yeah. You work away, getting in there somewhere.
Yeah, it's nice to have. So yeah, then there's just the delay pedal, and I got the DD7 just because it has a reverse delay on it.
Yeah.
That I never use.
Yeah.
Never. So like the, you know, I mean, never use live. Sometimes, you know, you'll put reverse overdubs in, but like, yeah, I mean, I do use delay a bit in Adele's band, so I use a short delay. Like,
Yeah, so
on
what's
one
the
solo.
sound you're using?
It's a really short one for like this post-punky song. In a pseudo type thing. And on some, I use a bit of a longer one. It's a bit,
Yeah, it is a bit like, not so shuttery.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. So, like, I think, like, with your amp, the Vox, it's obviously this digital preamp kind of thing.
Yeah, it's not valve, it's a modeling amp. So it's got a bunch of, again, you know,
40 amps are in there, yeah.
too many options. And
I reckon, like, man, that thing definitely gets, like, your sound a lot as well. Like, I feel like if you went to something else, it would change, like, the sound of you.
Well, I'm actually looking to, so I did get a new amp recently, a little 12-watt Laney, which is, I mean, it's half the size and weight of this one, which is another thing. Like, it's very difficult to lug this one around. It is on wheels, but, you know, stairs and lifting up into cars and stuff is not great for me. Yeah, you know, it served me well, and I played it in pretty much all my bands.
That's cool.
Sometimes recording, I've used other ones, you know, like I recorded a lot with Cam Smith at Incremental, like used his Deluxe, his Blues Junior. It's been pretty awesome. But sometimes I do just want this because it's not as tubey or whatever, but it is my sound.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you definitely have your sound from it, man. Yeah, sweet. So, well, yeah, the gear's awesome, man. And thank you for bringing it all in. And, like, yeah, it's pretty cool. You use kind of cheaper stuff.
Yeah.
But, like, you've...
Like the power supply, Joyo. Like, cheap as,
thing,
I was like, I don't know, $80 from China or something.
I feel like that really changed your sound. I only got a good one because of the fact that I have pedals that need more power. So it's like, it's better to have a better one. But, yeah, man, I just feel like, I was like how the fact that you, like, you get along and you do heaps of different bands and do heaps of different stuff and different sounds, but you use the most basic gear, which is great. Like, you've very much taken your role, which you're telling kids to do, start on basic stuff and work up there. Like, you haven't progressed forward. Like, and sometimes you don't need to. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like you've made that work for you.
I mean, for a long time, I was trapped in that cycle of needing the next gadget.
Yeah.
I think I have finally overcome that. But for ages, it was, you know, first it was an electric guitar.
Yeah.
I have an acoustic. I need an electric one.
Yeah.
You know, I need an effects pedal. Like at one point, it was like, I cannot continue to make music if I do not have an EBO.
Yeah.
I never use a bloody EBO these days.
But it's the same with me. Like, well, I got a big rig, but the thing is, it's all basic stuff. It's like I said, it's an overdrive, the tuner, a wah, and delays. There's nothing really that fancy on it. It's just multiple things of the same thing.
Yeah.
But that's all you need. But Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, thanks for like coming in and showing us the pedals and stuff like that. Like, yeah, definitely like the bass and all the other stuff is cool. I guess you've already given your advice, but what would be your advice to an up-and-coming guitarist or musician? Or someone who's in the industry at the moment?
Yeah, start basic. In terms of gear, start basic and figure out what it is you need. Don't buy the kitchen sink and... Does that metaphor work? Don't buy like the most complicated thing with all the settings in case you need it. Like just buy basic stuff and work out what you need from there, and just slowly grow your collection. You know, be cool to people you're in bands with. Like if you're not having fun, like something's gone wrong. You're probably not going to be famous and make heaps of money. And if you do ever make money off your music, like I feel like a lot of people, it takes something away from their music. If it becomes your job, like your job, whatever your job is, it's always going to be your job, and it's going to have that that stressful position in your head. So, you know, I mean, if you're talented and lucky and well connected enough to make it work, good on you. But if not, as over 90% of musicians are, like just figure out like what your budget is, what you can do, what time commitment you can make, and have fun.
Man, it's been awesome having you in.
Thanks,
Thank
Lloyd.
you very much. It's been great chatting. And yeah, you want to have a jam?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, sweet as. Awesome.